Good day, mates. Welcome back to Unpopular Aussie Opinions, where we dive headfirst into the raw, unfiltered takes on our great nation's sporting world that most folks wouldn't dare whisper in a crowded pub. I'm your host, the bloke who's always got a hot one brewing, and today, we are tackling something that's got the footy faithful in absolute stitches of shock and heartbreak. Christian Petracca, the Melbourne Demons midfield maestro, that absolute gun who's been lighting up the MCG like a Christmas tree on steroids, has been rushed to hospital after a shocking accident. Yeah, you heard that right. Not a bump in a tackle or a stray elbow in the ruck. This one's off the field, brutal, and it's left us all reeling. Strap in, because we are unpacking this from every angle, and I'll tell you straight up, my unpopular opinion on the lot? It's a wake-up call for the entire AFL circus, and if we don't listen, we are stuffing up the golden goose that is our national game. First off, let's set the scene properly, because in the whirlwind of breaking news, details get muddled faster than a seagull in a sandstorm. It was just the other night, during what was meant to be a ripper of a match against Collingwood. You know, that old rivalry that turns the G into a cauldron of blood, sweat, and the occasional meat pie lobbed over the fence. Petracca, our man, was in the thick of it, dodging magpies like they were cane toads in a drought. But then, bam, a collision that wasn't even in the script. Reports are coming thick and fast. He's gone down with what looks like a catastrophic knee injury, his leg twisted like a pretzel at a Bavarian beer hall. Straight to the stretcher, straight to the ambulance, and straight to the top of every sports desk from Sydney to Perth. The D's medical team called it significant trauma, but let's call it what it is, a bloody nightmare for a player who's been the heartbeat of that club since he was drafted at pick number 2 back in 2014. Now, I know what you're thinking. Accidents happen in footy, right? It's a contact sport, full of blokes built like brick outhouses charging at each other at max speeds. But here's where my unpopular opinion kicks in, and fair dinkum, it's one that'll have the purists clutching their pearls. This isn't just bad luck, it's the rotten fruit of a game that's grown too big for its boots, too obsessed with the glamour and the dollars, and not nearly enough with the human wreckage it leaves behind. Petracca's not some journeyman ruck rover scraping by on a rookie list contract. He's the face of the Demons, the bloke who's dragged them from the doldrums of wooden spoons to grand final glory in 2021. That Norm Smith medal doesn't win itself, you know. He's worth millions, not just in transfer fees but in the dreams he sells to every kid in a red and blue Guernsey. And yet, here we are, watching him carted off like yesterday's rubbish, all because the AFL's pushing its stars harder than a Shearer in Smoko. Think about it for a sec. The fixture's bloated, 23 rounds plus finals, night games bleeding into dawn patrols, and don't get me started on the state of origin experiment that's got players crisscrossing the Nullarbor like greyhounds on a hot tin roof. Petracca's been playing through niggles all season, hasn't he? Whispers from the change room say he was nursing a dodgy hammy, but no worries, push on, champ. That's the culture we've baked into this game. Tough it out, or you're a softcock. But is that really the Aussie way we love to bang on about? Resilience, sure, but at what cost? My take, and yeah, it's unpopular as a vegan at a barbie, is that we are turning footy into a meat grinder, and the players are the mints. Remember Dustin Martin? Bloke's a legend, but how many times has he been stitched up like a voodoo doll? Or even back to the golden era, think of the greats like Lee Matthews, who retired with more scars than a bikie's tattoo sleeve. We've romanticized the brutality, but when it's Petracca's face twisted in agony on the big screen, it stops being poetry and starts being a tragedy. And let's not pretend this is isolated. Zoom out a bit, and the AFL's injury ward is fuller than a servo on Anzac Day. Look at the Dockers. Half their backlines on the scrap heap with ACLS shredded like confetti. The Swans. Their mids are dropping like flies from concussion protocols that are about as effective as a screen door on a submarine. It's systemic, folks. The training regimens are brutal, high-intensity sessions that'd make a CrossFit nutter weep, all in the name of marginal gains. But marginal for who? The clubs chasing that elusive flag, or the sponsors rubbing their hands over the TV rights bonanza? Petracca's accident isn't a fluke. It's the canary in the coal mine, keeling over while the fat cats in suits sip Chardonnay at the league's high table. Now, I can hear the keyboard warriors already. Shut it, you whinger, footy's always been rough. Fair enough, but times have changed, haven't they? Back in the VFL days, it was beer and a fag at halftime, blokes with beer guts and hearts of oak. Now it's data analytics, cryotherapy chambers, and supplements that'd make Lance Armstrong blush. We've professionalized the pain, but forgotten the people. Petracca's a family man, for crying out loud, engaged to a top Sheila, building a life beyond the boundary line. What's the point of all that glory if it ends with you hobbling into retirement at 28, popping pills just to tie your bootlaces? My unpopular opinion doubles down here. The Players' Union, the AFLPA, needs to grow a spine bigger than a blue whale's. Demand mandatory rest weeks, cap the travel madness, and for the love of Bob Pratt, enforce those tackle laws before they turn every game into a demolition derby. But hang on, let's give credit where it's due, because I'm not here to just whinge like a gala on a wire. The Melbourne Footy Club, credit to them, rallied like troopers. Captain Max Gawn, that big red fella with a voice like a foghorn, was front and centre, holding the fort while the medicos whisked track away. And the fans? Bloody legends. Social media's lit up with hashtag #PrayForPetracca, messages pouring in from rival supporters who know a good UN when they see one. Even Eddie Maguire, that silver fox from the Magpies' lair, piped up with a classy tribute. It's moments like this that remind us why we bleed for this game. Not the umpires' howlers or the VAR farces, but the sheer humanity that binds us. Speaking of the hospital dash, let's get into the gritty details, because speculation's rife and I love a good yarn. Eyewitnesses, those diehards in the outer with the thermos flasks, reckon it happened in the dying embers of the third quarter. Petracca's bursting through the midfield, eyes on the goals like a heat-seeking missile, when a Magpie defender clips his knee from the blind side. Snap, crackle, pop, or so the slow-mo replays suggest. He's down, clutching his leg like it's a lifeline, and the ground goes quieter than a library on grand final eve. Trainers swarm like bees to a barbie, but even they can't mask the grim faces. Off to Epworth Hospital in Richmond, where the docs are no doubt poking and prodding under the fluorescent lights. Early word is ligament damage, possibly the ACL, the kiss of death for any athlete. Surgeries on the cards, rehab's a marathon, and the timeline? 6 to 9 months, if he's lucky. That puts a grand final defence in jeopardy, and for a Demon side that's already wobbling like a dingo on a trampoline, it's a body blow below the belt. But here's the silver lining I reckon we can cling to, and it's another unpopular twist. Injuries like this forge legends. Petracca's no stranger to the hard yards. Remember his breakout year in 2019, when he was slingshotting goals from the pocket like a human howitzer? Or that epic prelim against the Cats, where he willed the D's over the line with sheer grunt. This setback? It'll either break him or make him unbreakable. I'm betting on the latter. Blokes like him don't crumble. They come back swinging, with fire in their belly and a chip on their shoulder the size of a Luru. And for the AFL, it's a chance to evolve. Imagine if they took this as the catalyst: shorter seasons, better player welfare, maybe even a mid-season draft shake-up to spread the talent thinner. Nah, who am I kidding? The suits will paper over the cracks with more ads for energy drinks and electric utes. Diving deeper into the man himself, because Petracca's more than just stats on a page. Born in Melbourne to Italian migrants, yeah, that fire in his veins comes from the old country. He's the embodiment of the migrant dream we Aussies love to spruik. From junior footy in the western suburbs to the big league, he's clawed his way up with talent that'd make Michelangelo jealous. Off the field? He's got that cheeky grin, the one that says I'm having a lend, and a social media game that's sharper than a ruse claw. But peel back the layers, and there's substance. Charity work with underprivileged kids, advocating for mental health in a sport that's long treated it like a dirty secret. This accident? It's not just robbing us of a player, it's testing the soul of a bloke who's given everything to the red and blue. And let's talk rivals, because footy without a bit of bile is like a snag without sauce. Collingwood fans are copping it sweet online. Karma for the 2023 granny robbery. Some are crowing. But truth be told, most of us know it was a fair contest, a split-second mishap. Nick Dykos, that young gun in the black and white, even sent a message of support. Class act. It reminds me of the old days, when blokes like Tony Shaw and Gary Leon would share a post-match beer, no matter the scoreboard. We've lost some of that in the corporate coliseum the AFL's become, but nights like this bring it back. Now, zooming out to the broader canvas, this tragedy's got me pondering the state of Aussie sport as a whole. Footy's our religion, sure, but look at the cricketers nursing stress fractures from the Big Bash treadmill, or the NRL lads sidelined by Origin exertions. It's the same story everywhere. We worship the warriors until they shatter, then move on to the next sacrificial lamb. My big unpopular opinion for the day. It's time we treated our sports stars like the national treasures they are, not disposable heroes in a gladiatorial farce. Invest in the medicos, mandate the off-seasons, and hell, Maybe even pay the umpires enough to get the calls right first time. Because if we keep churning through talents like Petracca, we'll wake up one day to empty stands and a game that's as exciting as watching paint dry on a rainy arvo. Wrapping this up, because I've ranted longer than a filibuster in Parliament, Christian Petracca's shocking accident is a gut punch to the lot of us. It's a reminder that under the floodlights and the fanfare, these are flesh and blood Aussies chasing immortality in 90 minutes of madness. Get well soon, track. The footy world's dimmer without your spark, but brighter for knowing blokes like you. If you've got your own take on this, whether it's sympathy for the D's or a sly dig at the fixture gods, drop it in the comments below. Smash that like button if your team player welfare, subscribe for more unpopular Aussie opinions, and I'll catch you next time when we dissect why the draft system's rigged against the minnows. Until then, keep it real, keep it footy, and remember, in this game, it's not the falls that define you, it's the fight back. Cheers, legends.